And welcome back to the Atlanta Falcons franchise rebuild. Here today will be the offseason. As you guys can see in the top left, the New York Football Giants beat the Baltimore Ravens in the Super Bowl 42-35. Overall, in year 3, it was kind of a disappointing year just because I thought we had expectations, and especially going into the postseason 11-5, I thought we could make a deeper run than we did, only winning one playoff game. So in this offseason, there's a good amount of things that I want to do, but the most important is to reload and get a lot of good players to come to the team to propel us to where we want to go, which is the Super Bowl. That we need to re-sign. Some of them we've already kind of made decisions on, bringing back Trey Hopkins for a 1-year deal. For Caleb and John, these are two players that I do want to bring back, mostly for the depth quality. Right tackle is a positional group that I'm looking to improve at. I would like to have Caleb on the roster, mostly because he can provide the depth. For Andy Dalton, Troy Moody, Brett Jones, we're going to let these players go, hit the market. They provide quality depth. For Moses and Trey Hopkins, these are two players I want to keep. And then I think for the rest of the players, we're just not going to bring them back. Some of them are older, some of them aren't needed for the team anymore. Now, players like Patrick Peterson, Xavier Rhodes, and Carl Joseph, these are two players I will definitely consider bringing back, but, we're only going to, if we're bringing any of these players back, it's probably going to be for quality depth, and that's about it. And here's the first class from the first stage of free agency. You see Kareem Hunt, I believe that's A.J. Brown, I see Trent Brown, Hardman, I see a top-tier corner. There are good players right now in this free agency class that we definitely should consider targeting. Overall, number one player I saw was Trent Brown. He is definitely going to be a target of ours. But let's go turn to Trent Brown. I want to give Trent Brown a contract because I want to solidify the offensive line, especially on the right side. And Brown, a top 5 tackle in the league, 91 overall with superstar development. We're absolutely going to give him a contract. We got to just bump up this signing bonus so then it entices him to come here. Our first offer only put us in the top 10. There's a lot of teams that want Trent Brown, so we got to make sure that we get him. So we're just going to continue to increase this, maybe make it 2 years, $30 million. Let's go with that. 31.1 or 30.1. That puts us right now in second, so a little bit more. Let's go 2 years, $32 million. There you go. That should do it, and it does. That puts us in first place. So that's the... At the same moment, I decided to offer a 2-year contract to Caleb here. 2 years for me, he will be 30 years old, and if he does come back, he would be quality depth for the next 2 years. So 2 years, $5 million. Yep, that's about right. We'll see if that works. Moving on to John. At this moment in time, I was just kind of looking for players that we let hit the market that I wanted to bring back. With John, I did not want to pay him $1 million or $5 million for one season, so we're gonna just bump down the salary and the signing bonus just a little bit, make it about a 1 year, about less than $4 million a year. So hopefully he signs this contract after this stage 1. The next player I wanted to bring back was obviously Moses here. He's been the developmental receiver for us over the last now 2 years. So we're just going to bump this stuff down. I only want him to come back for a season. About 1 year, less than $1 million. Likelihood of him re-signing with that contract is slim. So if we don't, we'll just bring him back in during the preseason. Another move that I wanted to make was improve our third running back. After Justin Jackson experiment didn't work out, and we were looking to kind of replace Gallman. I saw a couple running backs here that I really liked, and one name that I noted in the back of my head was Gus Edwards, just in case if we needed to make a move. Now, we could bring back Gallman, we could bring back Justin Jackson, but I didn't want to. I kind of wanted to go after someone that could really make an impact. And I looked at Damian Harris here. I'm just going to continue looking. I looked at Damian Harris here, who is more of a power back, who has good speed, good strength. He would be a perfect running back for our number 3 spot in those situations where we need an explosive play or we need to get a touchdown. So we're going to offer him a 1-year deal, about $5 million. Now, I was just going through some offensive linemen and I came across D. Ellis here. He's 22 years old. He's big at 6'10". He looks like a very good player, and I thought to myself, hey, you know what? Let's ensure ourselves with getting a solid backup tackle that potentially could also play guard for a season, because in Madden, most offensive linemen can switch. And this would allow us that if we decide to move off of Jake Matthews next season, we can. I think D. Ellis here, with good run blocking and good pass blocking, and with superstar development, would be an excellent bring in for this roster. So the next contract, we're going to be trying to bring back Trey Hopkins here, offering him a 1-year deal. He was our backup center for a long period of time, and bringing him back because he started a lot of football games. At this moment in time, I was looking for players that could potentially be quality depth to the team, and I started at linebacker. I was thinking about corner, just to have quality depth behind Al Reed, Malik Walker, AJ Terrell, Jairi, and we started off with the linebackers, and this is just me looking through all of them until I came to cross White here, who had 74 coverage, good tackle, solid speed, and White here is a solid player, so we're going to offer him a 1-year contract to come here. I decided to then look at right outside linebacker, mostly to find a potential guy that we could maybe build around or build for the future, help his career out. So I was kind of looking at some of these younger players that might not be like a best replacement for Reed, but could just come in here and be a solid depth player. I look at Joe Thomas here, and I was like, oh, look at this star depth 32-year-old. Was not going to bring him in, but I thought he was interesting. Josh McLeod here did intrigue me because of that 80 finesse moves, and he's 22 years old. So I decided to offer him a 1-year deal, or a 2-year deal, excuse me, giving him a 2-year deal to come in here for the next couple seasons just to slowly improve on his own game. In terms of corner, I was wanting to bring back both Xavier Rhodes and Patrick Peterson, and potentially finding a younger corner in either the draft or also in free agency to come in here. But we're going to start with Patrick Peterson, just offering him a nice 1-year deal, less than $2 million, just to come in here and either play the 4th corner or the 5th corner. With Xavier Rhodes, same deal, come in here, be the backup. They're not the players that they used to be. And yeah, but then I came across Sherwin Collins here, a young corner with 95 speed, 78 man covers, and 71 zone with 71 press. He definitely intrigued me, so I decided to offer him. I decided to lowball him at first, giving him a 3-year deal worth $6 million, hoping that he can come in here after stage 1, and he potentially could be our slot corner. At this moment in time, here are all the free agent signings. Obviously, Trent Brown, Sherwin Collins, D. Ellis, and a couple players that I'm trying to re-sign to come to this roster. Moving on to stage 2, as we're going to see if we got any new players coming to this roster. We see that we brought in White, Hopkins, D. Ellis, Trent Brown, and John. So we did boost our offensive line and got quality depth at linebacker. That's huge. And I quickly checked if anyone else's contract is coming up. No other team was interested in our players, as I was starting just to look at players that other teams were bringing in. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of good players moving around, going to other teams, Alex Lynch and company. Rudy York here was a player that I saw who had superstar development at safety, and I was kind of beating myself up for not looking at free safety more. But we have about $12 million. I decided that, you know what, here, we're not going to do too much in stage 2. Moving on to stage 3, let's see if we got any other new players coming to the roster. We see we have a 5th-year option, but Patrick Peterson and Josh McLeod decided to sign, so more quality depth to the roster. Now, I didn't see everyone. So I see right now Damon Harrison has a contract to offer, same with Sherwin Collins, as well as Caleb here. And for Rhodes and Moses, I don't know if they're going to be coming in to this roster. I was confused why the Cardinals really wanted to go out there and bring in Damon Harrison, so I was just like, why are they going after Harris when they have already quality running backs everywhere? But with that, I decided just to withdraw the offer. I looked at Gus Edwards as pretty much that other power back in this free agency pool that we could bring in and offer him a 1-year deal, not this 3-year contract, just to see if he could potentially be the guy. So I decided to give him that contract offer. With Sherman Collins, I decided to kind of rework his contract. Sometimes I feel this works better if you withdraw the offer and then just go back to the position and then try to re-sign them. So with Sherwin Collins, 3 years, $10 million, putting us still in 2nd place, so we'll just continue to increase this offer. And that puts us in 1st place right there. Wanted to make sure, because I really wanted Collins to come to this team. He's young, he's good. And I don't want the Cardinals to get him. So offering him that 3-year contract. And with Caleb, I decided just to not even bother trying to bring him in. And with the rest of the $15 million, I just don't see us really spending it anywhere else. I looked at the offensive linemen just to see if we could bring anyone in, and I didn't like any of them. And I considered going after a pass rusher, and I was like, you know what, we'll make that decision in the draft or at the end of free agency. With AJ Terrell, this is an obvious 5th-year contract that I'm going to be picking up no matter what my GM has to say. This is one scenario that I wish that EA would do better at, but we'll give him that 5th-year option. Moving on to stage 4, we did bring in Sherwin Collins, as you guys saw there very quickly. So this is the state of the roster right now. We have Collins, most likely going to be playing our slot cornerback. I think he's good enough to do that, and it will help him develop over the next 3 years with that 95 speed, which is definitely encouraging. And as we're getting near the draft, obviously strong safety is the glaring need on the defensive side of the ball, but I still wanted more quality depth to the roster. For the other players that we're trying to offer, I didn't think any of them were going to be coming into this team, so I decided to withdraw, and we decided to take a look at what big names went where. So Kareem Hunt went to the Dolphins, A.J. Brown went to the New York Giants, Harmon went to the Dolphins as well, so the Dolphins are making moves. The Vikings brought in a big-time corner, and Tyler Lockett going to, I think, the Bengals, it looked like. And a couple other players going everywhere. Damon Harrison going to the Cardinals. Still a move that I don't understand. But overall, I think we accomplished what we wanted to accomplish in free agency. We brought in Trent Brown to solidify the offensive line. We brought in D. Ellis and Sherwin Collins to be solid depth players. And we were able to bring in other quality depth players to help the team out. There were still a few question marks that I had, obviously at safety, pass rush, and, really just getting quality players everywhere else. And this is the look at the roster from the offensive side of the ball. The defense looks right now with free agency. I still was considering another corner, another pass rusher, another interior defensive lineman, and safety. Defense was really another focus this offseason, but I was sitting back and really thinking about what did we do very bad last year, and that was stopping the run. So I'm going to be taking a quick look at any trades that we can make to improve our interior of our defensive line, maybe bring in a big-time run stopper, just in case if Grady Jarrett goes down, which he has throughout this series. And because of the fact that I wanted to start to look at defensive tackles, I decided just to go and look at all the defensive tackles in the league that are highly rated and see if I can find a solid run stopper, just to pair up with Grady Jarrett, especially when we go into our base 4-3 defense. And looking around, seeing Sheldon Richardson, Sheldon Rankins, Dalvin Tomlinson, Grover Stewart, these were definitely players that really intrigued me. Now, Grover Stewart here is 29 years old. He has good block shed, good awareness, play action rec, and good tackle. And I wanted someone on a 1-year deal. And, overall, I'm not bringing in a player that's going to come in here and be a pass rusher. So Grover Stewart from my Worst Quarterback Challenge series definitely intrigued me to try to bring him in here and be that other defensive tackle. So we started to negotiate with the Colts and really see if we can make a move to bring Grover in to help our defensive line out. So my first decision was try to trade Webster, a backup defensive end, and a 4th-round pick. It didn't get us as close as I wanted to, but I knew that, if we throw in either our 6th or 5th-round pick, we could get Grover Stewart. Throwing in the 6th, and it worked. So we gave up Webster, a backup defensive end, a 4th-round pick, and a 6th-round pick to get, a run-stopping defensive tackle that can play our base 4-3. And if Grady Jarrett does get hurt, we have another big-time defensive tackle that can play. Marlon and John and Eli, they're good depth, but they're not as good, obviously, as Grady Jarrett and Grover Stewart at stopping the run, and that's what I'm looking for. John Franklin Myers, David Banks, and Nate Waters, they're pass rushers. They want to go get the quarterback. So I think we did a very good job of bringing in Grover Stewart. Now that kind of just puts safety as the positional group that we're circling pretty much, as well as that's about it. There's not too many other things that I wanted to do in the draft. So let's get into this draft and try to bring in some good big time playmakers for this defense, or for this team, excuse me. The LA Rams hold the 1st overall pick in the 2023 NFL draft. We hold the 27th overall pick. In this draft class, I didn't really see too many players that I wanted to target. Let's quickly take a look at what the Rams might want to do. I don't think they're going to go after a quarterback with the 1st overall pick. I think that they're definitely going to be considering offensive line with this draft pick, or maybe they brought in Caleb. Maybe a defensive end. They're most likely to go best player available, though. So let's go see what they do. And with the first overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, it's Darrell Lacey here at UCLA, excuse me. 80 overall defensive end, great big-time pass rusher. Then Junior McLeod here going to the New Orleans Saints. So the Saints just got themselves a big-time pass rusher to learn behind, what's his name, Cameron Jordan. So that's huge for them. That's the problem for us, pretty much. They boasted that defensive line. And at this moment in time, there weren't too many players that I was really wanting to trade up for. So at this moment in time, my draft strategy was to pretty much go best player available. If there's an early one draft pick, I would go after them. If not, we'll just kind of trade back and pretty much play it by ear. As we see Young here going to the Titans, the first quarterback. Timmy here going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's replacing Big Ben from 2 years ago, and then Matt Ryan of this past season. So overall, let's go skip to our draft pick. As now the Falcons are on the clock with the 27th overall pick. There weren't too many players that I sat back and I thought that I really needed to go after. So I kind of just started to look around to see if there's any early first one. Johnny Middleton here, who is an early first one talent, is definitely on my board. Raymond Goodwin, definitely another defensive tackle. The question obviously goes, do we take a defensive tackle with the 27th overall pick after going after a player like Grover Stewart, bringing back John? I see Andrew Smith here, who is 6'2", from Louisville, but late one talent. Didn't see any corners that I really wanted to target with the 27th pick. And offensively, it was a couple wide receivers. Brian Cripps here, mid one talent, 4.4 speed. But do we really want to take a wide receiver? He was going to be our fourth receiver on the team. And for the running backs I scouted, none of them had early one talent, so they really didn't intrigue me enough. So I thought about it more or less like this. Do we bring in an obvious need, or do we bring in an early one talent? And I decided that, you know what, let's go with Johnny. Let's bring in a player that has early one talent that we know will be good. Hopefully he has a good development trait, and hopefully he will come in here and be a big-time pass rusher, and maybe he could play anywhere on the defensive line. And overall, I was okay with this. So with the first pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, we went with Johnny Middleton, who is 74 overall, 6th in true talent. He is a power rusher, good run-stopping moves. 86 strength is low for a defensive tackle, but he's mostly coming in here to be that big-time pass rusher for our defensive line. And definitely a project, because let's not forget this. We do have John on a one-year deal, and Marlon Davis, his contract is coming up. I still, though, wanted Andrew Smith. So we're going to be trying to make a trade here with the Kansas City Chiefs, trading up to go get him. So sitting back thinking about it, I decided to offer a second-round pick, a fourth, and a next year's third, and we got the 28th overall pick. I think that this is a very fair trade, especially because of the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs are now just dropping back very back in the draft, and this is allowing us to now get Andrew Smith here, who is the fastest safety, strong safety in the class, and he comes out with 72 overall, 27th in true talent, 21 years old, 6'2", 90 speed, 76 zone coverage, and 77 hit power. Between both him and Stephen Collins, I think they can both battle for the strong safety spot. You did see that 82 injury, which does concern me, but overall, I think we made the smart move by bringing in Smith, Middleton, to really bolster up the defense. Now we only have 3 draft picks, and these 3 picks we're going to be using to mostly provide quality depth to the team and maybe find a steal. Hopefully we can find a player that has hidden development and someone that can come in here and be a long-term future plan. As here in the 3rd round, the Falcons are right back on the clock. As we said before, we drafted a safety, a defensive tackle. Quickly taking a look at our board to see if there's any good players that we potentially could take. I see a lot of defensive linemen, some wide receivers, a couple safeties, some corners. I really didn't know what to do with this 3rd round pick, but I wanted to make sure that we got someone that at least has a grade that's higher than a late 3 to help out this roster. So I started to look at wide receivers because there were still a lot of talented receivers, and Jacoby Sutton here, he was one of those players that I was considering, as I'm just going to take off that stupid bug that I don't understand why still is in the game. But Jacoby Sutton here with very good hands was definitely intriguing me. So 6'2", more of a physical receiver. Definitely a kid that I could bring in. And then Caleb Bernard here, mid-2nd round talent. Definitely 2 players that were definitely in the back of my head with this draft pick, as I just wanted to quickly scan to see if there was any other positional groups that we could target. I was not going to draft another defensive tackle, and at corner, I really didn't see anyone that had a 2nd round grade on them. So going more with a BPA approach here, I didn't really like these corners. I was looking at all of them and trying to do my due diligence. So I decided between Sutton and Bernard. I like Sutton a little bit better. He's 23 years old, and he's coming out with 69 overall. Nice 60 in true talent. Normal dev, 87 speed. So not the best of speed, but definitely better than Luther Powers, so that's good. That 83 injury does concern me. But I think what Jacoby can be for this offense is that backup wide receiver that we can develop here. As we're going to move on to the 5th round here. Just trying to see, just to continue this process. And, now here in the 5th round and our 7th round pick, these were 2 draft picks that I sat back and I thought, let's get depth to this team. But I quickly wanted to look at our board. Really didn't want to take an offensive lineman. We've already improved that a lot. But Brian Jenkins here with mid-4 talent, 4.4 speed, 22 years old with man coverage. He immediately thought corner for me, which I decided just to back out for whatever reason here. But he definitely intrigued me from a cornerback perspective than anything else. And I was looking at pass rushers, but I think Jenkins here, definitely maybe a switch to corner would be the best bet. He comes out with 67 overall, 107th the true talent, 91 speed, 72 man coverage with 86 zone coverage, with solid tackling at 60. So I actually think that he can make the transition from safety to corner and potentially be one of our younger guys that we're just kind of developing. I don't think that's at all a bad move. Moving now to the 7th round, at this moment in time, we hold a very late 7th round pick. So I mostly just wanted to take a shot at a player that could come in here and really help the team. I looked at every positional group and I just couldn't really think of one that I wanted to have a developmental player other than tight end. So I decided to focus in on the tight end group. I considered a quarterback real quick, but I was like, I don't really want to draft someone in the 7th round. We could have drafted a punter, but I decided that let's go focus on the tight end group and see if there's any player that we could So right here, I wanted to show you guys the process that I was doing with the tight end group. I was looking for both either speed or strength or something with just movement. So I was looking around and I found a couple players that was definitely intriguing. Christian there definitely intrigued me with his high strength. And then Short here was the only player with a top 10. So shot Short here, went on the board. Mark Lang here. I decided just to take him off, mostly because, he's kind of in that in-between. So I decided between Short and Weaver here. Which one would I rather have? Someone with speed or someone who has solid blocking? I went with the speed. He's 57 overall, 88 speed, 80 catching. And to put this in perspective for you guys, I don't care about the overall. The only thing I care about is if they can go out there and make the plays. So with Short, he's going to be our third tight end, and we're going to make things work out for him. So this is the draft class. We get two solid defensive players to most likely have some significant role to the team, and then three players that we can kind of develop. Moulton here, definitely excited about what we can do. Most likely he's a next year starter or at least rotational defensive lineman with that very good power moves. With Andrew Smith, hey, he's going to have to fight versus Stephen Collins to be a starting player on the defense. I think he can play. That 82 injury does concern me though. Of course, Jacoby Sutton here. Hey, he's a long-term player that we might be able to develop him as our next third receiver potentially. And Brian Jenkins here. We're going to make the move now to move into corner. He's an 67 overall free safety, but let's see where he is at corner. It's an 86. That's one above. Definitely going to keep him at corner instead of safety. So there is your quality depth. Bringing in Sherwin Collins, Jenkins, and bringing back Patrick Peterson for another season. Absolutely, I really like this. As well as Jenkins can easily move back to safety. And then with Short here, I think Short can potentially be our third tight end and be the guy that, you know what, we just kind of throw the ball one time a season. I think he can make the play. In terms of, for the rest of the NFL, Lacey here was the top two players went with the first two picks. Coming out with hidden development, definitely a big-time pass rusher playing alongside Aaron Donald. That's going to be a very vaunting defense for years to come. I believe. But if you guys look at even just the top 5 players, as I'm just going to show you guys the players, but all the players that were highest overall were not in our positional group of need. You could argue in corner potentially, but I just don't think that we needed to go out there and make a move. Now you do see Moulton in there, so we did get a top 6 draft pick, so I think we did very well with this draft class. Here are Timmy's ratings, the quarterback that went, I believe, 9th overall, 92 throw power. I think the Steelers got themselves a quarterback for the future. Here's Dylan here, who went in the top 5. He was definitely a safety that I was considering, but, yet again, trading up into the top 5 is extremely difficult. He does have hidden development, so maybe it would have been worth it. For the rest of the players in this draft class, I really can't think of too many other players that we were considering. There were players that I liked, like Julian Goodwin, but there weren't too many players in this draft class. So same with Young, but overall, I think we did what we could do best. Let me know down below if I actually did a good job in this draft class with the prospects that you guys see here. Lynch here, he was the tight end that I really liked in the class, but he went in the second round. I'm not trading up or trading back into the second round to draft just to have two good tight ends. I just don't think that makes overall a lot of sense. I think this draft class was very weak, but I think we made the most out of it with bringing in Middleton, and Smith. Overall, I think we did our job. I think this team is in a better spot than we were at last year. I know we're taking a hit at strong safety, but we're improving the run stopping in the interior of the defensive line. We improved the offensive line. It's another year with Blake Rivers, who's going to be overall wise better than he was at the beginning of year 3. So I think we should be fine. So as we move into the last bit of stages into the making the 53-man roster, I started just to look at if there was any cuts. I see a lot of talented players in Jermichael Wolf, Andrew Locker, Mario Butler, Sidney Higgins here. I believe who was on the Saints for the last couple seasons. And I was very much surprised. And I sat back and I decided that, you know what, let's go out there and let's bring in a couple of these players in here to potentially help out the team for at least a season or two. So the first player that we're going to be targeting is Jermichael Wolf. We're going to be trying to bring in both Wolf. So the two players I wanted was Jermichael Wolf and Mario Butler. So signing him to a 1-year contract, as well as Mario Butler to this team to provide that quality depth at linebacker. I think these were two excellent moves for our team, and overall, it was a great offseason. Here's the final look at the roster with our practice squad players. I decided just to bring in someone else here to replace the technical that we lost, that I think the Jags signed. But overall, that is the off season. But actually, let's look at some storylines that we have to be playing against this year. We obviously have Blake and Jimmy Rivers playing in week 1. We have the Cardinals. We have the Giants. We have the Bears. There's a lot of good teams, as well as from, I believe, week 9 to week 13, we are playing against all of our divisional games, except for the week 4 game. Our first 5 games are against 4 teams that made the postseason. Overall, it's going to be a very, very difficult season, especially because from week 10 to week 13, we're playing all of our divisional, week 14 actually, we're playing against all of our divisional opponents. So this is going to be a very, very tough schedule to start out with, in the middle, and even at the end. So we're going to have to go into this season hot and ready to win a lot of ball games here. So hopefully we can do that. I hope you guys are excited, as much as excited as I am, to start year 4. Year 4 will start on Tuesday. Let me find the date real quick. Tuesday, November 9th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time at twitch.tv/Larrbearxd. We will get through 3 games of this season, and I will be posting those 3 games over the next couple weeks. So I did hope you guys enjoyed one episode of the off season with the draft, free agency stuff. Let me know down below if you guys like that, more of this style, more of a longer term episode. And if you did enjoy, please consider subscribing and liking the video. It really does help me out. Other than that, guys, I'll catch you guys in the next one.